if you're not already patient, it will teach you patience. And that's important. So you have to be a really patient person, and you have to run an ultra. It's not about speed, it's about finishing. It's a wonderful way to just escape from the chaos that is our world, if only for the duration of the ultra event.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ultra Running Summit Series. I'm your host, Eric Bromell, and my guest today is Miriam Gilbert, or Miriam Diaz Gilbert is her author name. Miriam has been running ultras since 2005 and running competitively since 1989. In 2012, she endured an unexpected surgical error and medical nightmare which almost ended her life. What helped her to endure this unimaginable adversity was years of ultra running. Miriam then wrote Come What May, I Want to Run, How Ultra Running Saved My Life, and it was published in the Huffington Post. She's been published in Women's Running Magazine, Running Competitor, and Ultra Running Magazine. Spirituality and faith are an important part of her life, and she's written about spiritual dimensions of ultra running. To read her published works, I will link her website and her Facebook page below. So Miriam, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Eric.
And so I understand how you first kind of got started into ultra running and used that to battle back from an injury. But what was sort of the very beginning of your running? What sparked your interest in it in the first place?
Well, actually, I've been very athletic my entire life. I played basketball, field hockey, and softball, middle school through high school, but I didn't play in college. But college can be stressful, and it was the stress of a broken heart, college breakup, that got me running. And so I would run late at night after studying, and I found that it was the relief that I needed. And that's how I actually started running. So it was, to reduce stress, and then I continued running for recreational purposes. And I haven't stopped since then.
Wow, that's incredible. I notice you've got an a Leadville poster, Leadville 100 poster in your background there.
Yes, that's a great story. I'm glad. I have this here. I was in Leadville in 2010, visiting my daughter and her future family-in-law. And it was in Frisco, Colorado. And we drove up to Leadville, and there's the Leadville store. And Kent Chobler, who started the Leadville races, was in his store.
Whoa, cool.
And, it was awesome because I didn't know that was him when I was talking to him. It was after we left that my son-in-law's parents pointed out, oh, did you know that's the guy that started Leadville? Did you see the reading on the frame on the wall? I said, are you kidding me? I just read Born to Run, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to him.
Yeah.
And so I went right back to the store, and we started chatting because I wanted to get a Leadville shirt, just as a souvenir. And they had plenty. And there was a basket of posters. And I said, oh, how much is that poster? He says, oh, they're free. So he says, grab one. And he signed it for me. Miriam Run Strong, Ken. And that was July 26th.
Wow.
It's such a great story. So I have this poster in my office. I taught college for many years, and I was the director of a writing center, and it was in my writing center because I used to tell my students there are no shortcuts. So that was the message. And so that's I'll never run Leadville. I can't do Leadville. But it was just such an honor to meet him, and he was just so cool and so down to earth. In fact, I have a picture with him too.
So down to earth, and yet he lives just way up in the clouds. Like Leadville almost frightens me because it's what, 10,000 feet altitude?
But it's nothing. For me, it's nothing. We've also hiked in Rocky Mountain.
Okay.
And I'm so fortunate that altitude sickness is not something that I experience ever. So for me, Leadville was just like being in any other place.
Okay.
The town of Leadville itself, I think it's 10,000 feet. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
wasn't bad. So I just love that poster, and I keep it in my office at home.
That's wonderful. Like I can't, that race just amazes me at the altitude some people choose to run at, and like the meta and physical and spiritual realizations that people must have when you're just pushing your body at that sort of extreme
Yeah.
condition amazes me. And that just really summarizes ultra marathons to me, is just people just competing against themselves, really trying to see how
That's correct.
far they can push themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, I didn't know what ultra running was until I saw an interview on 60 Minutes. Uh, 60 Minutes. Are you familiar with 60 Minutes?
Yes.
CBS, 60 Minutes. Leslie Stahl was interviewing Dean Karnassus, who I'd never heard of,
Hmm.
and Pam Reed, who I'd never heard of. And I'm listening to them, and they're talking about running 100 miles, running 200 miles, and what their diet is and how they train. I was so fascinated and so impressed. As soon as the interview was over, I got on my computer, my desktop, I Googled ultra marathon, and the closest ones to me is the JFK 50 miler,
Okay.
which is it starts in Maryland, it goes through West Virginia and Virginia. The first 14 plus miles is in the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
I signed up, I didn't know what I was doing. I told my husband, I just signed up for the JFK 50. He said, "Are you crazy? You're never gonna make it." And I said, "Just because you said I can't make it, watch me."
Yes.
And I trained in Flat, South Jersey. We lived in Flat, New Jersey. And you had a 14-hour start time limit or a 12-hour time limit. Of course, I chose the 14-hour time limit. And I said to myself, I'm going to give myself, my goal is 13 hours and 59 minutes.
Hmm.
And I just want to finish. Well, I finished in 12 hours and 24 minutes.
Way to
And
go.
I walked like the last 8 miles, you know. But after that, as soon as I got in the car, I was plotting my next one.
Yeah.
And that's how it all got started. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. It's
Wow.
about endurance. And one thing that ultra running uh, will teach you, if you're not already patient, it will teach you patience.
Mm.
And that's important. So you have to be a really patient person, and you have to run an ultra. It's not about speed. It's about finishing. And if you can finish in a certain amount of time, or if you finish right towards the end, it's still a finish. So for me, finishing is winning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you're really competing against no one but yourself out there.
exactly. And
And
many times, especially, if you're not an elite runner, you're really by yourself a lot of the time that you're on that trail,
hmm,
that road. So, and for me, it's it's my time with God.
mm, me
It's
too.
my Yeah, it's my conversation with God. It's my time with the saints. And it's also my time to brainstorm, and just it's a wonderful way to just escape from the chaos that is our world,
Hmm.
if only for the duration of the ultra event.
Yes.
And that's a blessing for me.
Do you run with music, or do you try and listen to the word of God while you're running?
Actually, when I run, I used to, when I first started running in my 50s, my first couple of 50s, I would listen to music. Um, but then, of course, the battery dies, and, can't
Hmm.
use it anymore. But I would say, no, I don't run ultras with music because I don't want it to interfere with my conversation with God.
Same here. And
Yeah.
some people, when I talk to them and I tell them how far I go on my training runs and stuff, they're like, how do you not have like playlists and like 2 iPods going with like so many play songs going? And I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
it's just about connecting with nature and God.
That's right. Connecting with nature, connecting with God's beauty and creation. And sometimes, if I'm preparing mentally for an upcoming event, like it's in a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I do like to get inspired and to stay motivated. I will listen to a podcast, an
Hmm.
ultra podcast. But if it's a 30-minute conversation or an hour interview, that's enough, because I'm going for long runs that will take many more hours. And so sometimes you need that little lift, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll never listen to a podcast while I'm having at an ultra event. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time, I would say 80% of the time that I run, I do not listen to anything. I don't have anything in my ear.
Yeah, me too. There's a few times where I've had my headphones plugged in and I've been able to take a phone call while I was
Yeah,
running because I forgot that my headphones were there and suddenly I hear the
right,
phone
right.
ringing.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll put them on, but I never turn the music on, and I realize I just ran 5 hours and I didn't even turn on the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
yeah.
can you tell me about some of your daily spiritual practices or what sort of spiritual practices you incorporate in your training for ultras?
Well, I pray all the time, you know, people say, well, what's prayer? Do you have to memorize prayers? If you're thinking about praying, that's a
Mm-hmm.
prayer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to read scripture passages, I also have a background in theology. I have a master's in theology, all but dissertation in theology. I taught theology and I taught religious studies. So theology
Wow.
and God, big part of my life. Yeah. Um, I pray, and to get ready, one of the things that I love to garden.
Me
So
too.
for years, really, it's for years, over, I don't know, maybe 20 years, I have flower gardens in my home. And this past spring, I really been thinking about growing my own vegetables.
Mm.
And my husband and I planted this really beautiful vegetable garden. And so when I prepare my gardens in the spring, when I weed throughout the gardening season, um, I love to weed because even though it's kind of hard and you're on your knees, the entire time I'm meditating and I'm
Mm-hmm.
visualizing my next ultra event.
Yeah.
I'm visualizing the course. I think about my past ultras, and I just find it really soothing. So for me, gardening is my one form of many to meditate. That's how I meditate, is through gardening.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
can relate to that so much. Throughout my whole childhood, my grandparents were like hugely influential in this way. They always had a massive garden and I'd always help them with it in the summertime. And even
And the
after
connection,
they've,
the
pardon
connection
me?
with the earth, no, the connection with the earth.
Oh, yes.
So I can understand people who don't have a connection to the earth. The other thing that I love to do, and you probably enjoy doing this too, we love to hike in the national parks.
Mm-hmm.
So we are getting ready to hike in our 18th national park.
Wow. Which
I
one are
just
you planning on?
The next one is the Cuyahoga National Park in Ohio.
Okay.
And it's great because it'll sort of be like another racecation. That saying, there's a weekend in July, the last weekend in July, where the Burning River 100 miler and Burning River 50 miler take place.
Okay.
And it takes place right near the national park. So my husband and I will, my poor husband, he's so wonderful and cooperates. He's gonna be with me at that ultra. So I'm just gonna run the 50 miler, and just to be, that would be like my first national park ultra. But we've hiked in and rock climbed in Acadia National Park, which is
Okay.
not too far from Canada.
Yeah, it
We've
would be
rock
right near
climbed,
Halifax, I think, or right
yeah,
near Nova Scotia.
yep. And we have rock scrambled in Shenandoah
I
National
really,
Park.
I really want to do that one actually. Along the Appalachian Trail, I've heard it's really nice.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, and so I love going Zion and Bryce and Yosemite,
Mm,
Shenandoah, Smoky. Just so many. 18. I can't keep track of all of them, but
yeah, there's
yeah,
so
and
many in the United States too. Like it's
there are
especially
59.
in the West, right?
Yeah, there are 59 national parks. And last Christmas, not this past Christmas, the Christmas before, we went to Virgin Islands National Park.
Oh, cool.
And um, one of the trails that we were on, it was very rugged and it was so treacherous, but it's 2.9 miles one way. But at the end of that trail, there's a piece of heaven on earth that welcomes you, and it's one of the most beautiful beaches in the world.
Right on. What do you pack for a 50-mile race? Like, what are your sort of 5 essentials if you had one, if you had 5?
Well, of course,
Aside
there's the,
from shoes and appropriate like clothing for the weather and everything.
okay, well, one thing that I always carry is I carry my pouch, and in my pouch, I, of course, carry my phone.
Hmm.
And I carry this little first aid kit. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
carry this even when I train. So it's got like little Band-Aids and some like Neosporin. And I always carry a couple of dollars because I run out of hydration for food, you
Hmm.
know. I have 8 medication allergies, so I have my medical ID. In
Okay.
case I fall and they take me to a hospital and they give me CAT scan, I will die because I'm severely allergic to C.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a
Very,
must-have then.
yeah. And I have to have my Blistex,
Mm.
for my lips. So those are my phone and a little money. And when I have ultras, I carry this also, but I'm not too worried because there are 8 stations along the way, and then I have my crew, and my crew in the past has been my husband and my children. They're adults now, so they don't get to crew me as much anymore. And then food that we bring our own food to races. I like certain foods, and about 4.5 years ago, we changed our diet and we eat paleo now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got rid of processed foods and wheat and pasta and rice and beans and sugar, and we cook and bake with almond butter and almond flour and coconut oil and lard. And we still get to eat meats and chicken and fish and lots of vegetables, but we don't eat corn because it's very processed.
Hmm.
And so during a race, on race day, I like avocados and almond butter and my bananas and almond chocolate chip cookies that my husband makes the best cookies in the world. And
Right on.
they're not processed. They're made with coconut flour and almond flour, coconut sugar.
He sounds like a
And then,
great guy to have on your crew.
oh, he is. Yeah, he is. He's very patient. And then I like dark chocolate almond milk.
Mm.
It's great,
I
and I
have some
like
in the
that.
fridge, actually.
Oh, good. I like that with coconut milk, mixed with coconut milk and ice cold seltzer.
Mm.
Oh, it's so good, especially when it's super hot and you're training. And before a training run at home and after, I like to have uh, sardine salad made with romaine lettuce from my garden
Yeah.
and boiled eggs and sardines. And I have that too after a run. I don't require much food, I don't think.
Mm.
Like when I first started running ultras, I would crave big, juicy, fat, greasy hamburgers,
Mm.
with bread and stuff. Now I can still eat the hamburger, but I don't care for the bread.
Yeah. I'm a vegetarian and I eat mostly vegan, but it was weird. After one of my marathons last year, I just got this unbelievable craving for a turkey club sandwich.
There you go.
I
Yep.
couldn't explain it. It was just
That
like,
doesn't surprise me at all.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I used to oh my God, I'm so hungry for a hamburger. And it used to be like when I ran a 50 milers, I needed a hamburger and French fries and a vanilla milkshake at about
Mm.
mile 25.
Okay.
But that hamburger would last me until the race was over because I would just pick at it.
Yeah.
Pick at it. And now I don't care for that. I don't. After I went paleo, let me tell you, I don't care for spaghetti and meatballs. I don't want lasagna. I don't care
Yeah.
for pasta. I don't miss rice. And so, I like it. So
Yeah, like my girlfriend, my fiance, I should say, and I have like she's very gluten intolerant and I'm very lactose intolerant. So
Okay.
just the way that we shop ends up being almost vegan because we're both vegetarian in addition to that. So
Right.
it becomes like a there's very few things that kind of stray from that path for us.
Right.
But I still do kind of indulge here and there because
You have to.
it's
You have
yeah.
to. Sometimes I get a craving for a specific donut that I like
Mm.
at our local supermarket, and I have to have it.
Yeah,
You know,
you and I
I
have
will
that in common.
have. Yeah. So, yep. So that's that.
So can you tell me about your biggest meltdown on race day and sort of what you did to combat
Uh,
that?
okay. Well, I wouldn't call them meltdowns. I would call them crying episodes.
Okay.
And it occurred at mile 96 of my first 100 miler. It was the
Mm,
Philadelphia 100 miler. And, I was doing well. And around mile 96, and my husband is with me. And by now you're just walking. Okay. You barely have strength, and I just started crying. I just started bawling. And I couldn't understand why. And my husband is like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know." And I kept crying. And then I was asking all these questions like, what if I die before you die? And what if you die before I die? And
mm,
what if I die and I never see my future grandchildren? And my
mm.
husband just kept listening to me. He didn't say a thing. And I had my little mini iPod, and that was the first time I turned it on. And did you listen to Rascal Flatts?
I do, yeah.
Okay, I
Life is a
turned
Highway, their remake of it is a
yes,
great
yes,
song.
yes, yes, yes. I turn on my iPad, and the song that comes on is that song by "I Will Stand By You."
Hmm.
I will, and that's it. I just started crying, and it's a song about God is with us at all times.
Yes.
And and then the last quarter mile, my husband is with me, and I said, "Oh, I want to run to the end," and I did, and I turned on my iPad again. And do you know Public Enemy?
Yeah, I do.
Fight the Power,
Yep.
Fight the Power. Well, that song came on. I just danced my way to the finish. And so, I had a crying spell, but I've never had a meltdown. But when I ran my second 100 miler after the Philly 100 miler, at around mile 84, my son and my husband are waiting for me. They're crewing me at that point. And I stopped and I said, "It's over. I'm never going to finish. It's not possible." And I'm looking at my clock, my watch, and they're both looking at me and they're saying, my son's like, "Mom, you have like 9 hours to run 16 miles and then you're done."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "No, I don't you see and I couldn't tell time because
Oh,
I had diminished cognitive ability, and I'm crying and I'm slurring my speech. And then my son just looks at me and says, "Mom," he gives me a kiss, goes, "You're gonna make it. You're doing great. Your time. You're running faster than your last 100 miler."
mhm.
And I said, "I am? You think I can do it?" He goes, "Get out there."
Yeah.
Of course, you
Sometimes it
know,
just takes that faith from somebody else to believe in you, right?
yeah, yeah. And you really do lose cognitive functioning.
Mm,
You do hallucinate. I usually don't. I hear things that are not there, especially when I'm running in the dark. And I think it's deer coming from the woods, and I can actually hear steps behind me, and there's no runner there.
mm,
And after my last 100 mile this past Labor Day weekend in Pensacola, Florida, that was a tough one for me, but I finished. And we went back to the RV, and my husband said, we should get something to eat. So we drove around on a Sunday night when everything was closed, and he managed to find some kind of Cobb salad somewhere. And he gave it to me to eat, and I'm looking at it, and I see people in my salad. There's
Whoa.
there's a dad and a son, and they're in my salad, and I see people, and I'm like, I call my husband, I'm like, John, look, there are people in my salad. I can't eat this. And he goes, what are you talking about? I don't know. That's just the grilled chicken. What you see is just the grilled chicken. And I was convinced that there were people in my salad and I wouldn't
Wow.
eat. And my husband's only regret is that he didn't videotape me having this episode.
Hmm.
And I was hallucinating the entire time. Yeah.
Wow. And that was
So,
how long after the race? Like half
oh,
hour?
I would say maybe 30 minutes after the race.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, and you start to see things in the dark because you have your headlamp
Hmm.
on,
There's lots of
and
shadows.
yeah, there's shadows, and you see like this beautiful arch mural, and it's just a bunch of sticks and rocks, but it becomes like a beautiful art form.
Yeah.
So yeah, so hallucinations are quite common in ultras, especially 100 milers and longer. Not in 50 milers, but in 24-hour races and in 100 milers plus. Yeah, you start to hallucinate.
So do you find you just have to trust in yourself and trust in your training and trust that those hallucinations aren't there to just
Yes,
get
yes.
past it?
It's something that will occur, and the entire time I'm hallucinating, I'm not worried because God is with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and when I run these ultras, when you're running them alone in the dark, sometimes the next runner is maybe a quarter mile ahead of you, the other one is a half a mile behind you. I'm not worried because I'm never alone. God is always with me.
Mm.
Yeah, so, and I haven't gotten to the point where I worry about hallucinating because and then I also, the thing that I think what keeps me going is what I suffer, what ultra runners suffer on the course. There's a lot of pain and there's a lot of suffering. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing in comparison to Christ's suffering on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing in comparison to the suffering that family members and friends have endured as a result of terminal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen what has happened to their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm inspired by the suffering that the saints endured.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks who left the real world and became ascetics to live an ascetic life. And I tell you, they give me so much strength
Yeah.
to put one
Even
foot in.
I remember running a half marathon a couple of years back, and it's one of the ones that's in support of cancer research. And I just remember partway through the race, I was feeling kind of sore and tired, and all these images of deceased relatives of mine kept coming to me. And like, it wasn't like they spoke to me. It was just like, whoa, yeah, I see all these people and how,
Yeah.
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 How do you feel running has enabled you to change the world?
Wow, that's a good question. The world is a big place to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that through my running and maybe through writing about my running and writing about my health challenges and adversities that I have experienced and survived, I have people that can identify with those experiences, and I think I've touched them. One of my most popular posts, which first appeared on Huffington Post, is my post on B12 deficiency. I
Yes.
don't know
Okay.
if you've read that one. I have people from all over the world
Mm-hmm.
contacting me from the States, from Canada, from
Mm.
Nepal, from India.
It's a very common problem among vegans.
Yes, and in fact, when I was first diagnosed, what happened was I was having tingling sensations, twitching, terrible spasms in my calves and my sleep, and I couldn't walk, and then I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't run. And long story short, every doctor would ask me, "Are you a vegan?" I said, "Oh, no, I'm not a vegan." And they were stumped. It finally took me going to one of the top world neurologists at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And he figured it out immediately. My body does not absorb B12, and we need B12 B12 produces the lining in our spinal cord, the myelin sheath, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But my body has no myelin sheath.
Wow.
And so, because it can't absorb B12, and so it's a neurological disorder.
Mm.
And so I've been on B12 since 2009. And because I run, you use up a lot of energy when you run. And so for a while now, I need to be on B12 weekly for life. I mean, I've been on B12 for life since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And B12 deficiency is very, very serious. It can cause paralysis. It can cause dementia.
Mm-hmm.
In worst case scenario, psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of doctors do not have any understanding of B12 deficiency. So
Mm-hmm.
if you feel like numbness and tingling and you're twitching and your fingers get locked and you wake up in the middle of the night with severe spasms in your calves, and I was having my right toe would curl all the way back and it was locked and pain radiating through my body. I couldn't run. But the good news is that after I got diagnosed in September, I started on B12. I started running again end of October, and I trained for the North Face 50 miler in outside Washington, D.C. And I just wanted to know that I could still do the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a tough trail run, but I didn't get an official time. You had 13 hours. I did it in 14 hours plus. But what was so nice about the North Face people was that even the runners, if we didn't make it in time, we still got a medal. They gave
Right on.
Wasn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter that I didn't finish in the 13-hour limit. What mattered to me was that I could still do the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a wonderful journey for me. And I continue to run after that.
Wow. I just want to ask you briefly about your habits outside of running. Is there things that you rely on a daily basis can you tell me about?
I pray, and I like to set goals.
Me too.
So I always list of goals like the night before. If I don't write it down, I have them in my head, but I wake up and then I make my list of goals and then I check them off if I, complete them. And I write every day.
Mm-hmm.
So those are three things: pray, write your goals down. And when I pray, I thank Him for all my blessings.
Mm-hmm. Gratitude.
Gratitude. Yes, exactly. And I write. I love to write. So.
Yeah. I'm very similar in that way. Like I just take time to be grateful for everything that I have every day and everything that I am. Really, it's it's such an important part of my day, and I feel like it gets overlooked in a lot of ways for a lot of people. And then especially before my runs, I'm big on setting intentions too and deciding like, okay, is this a fun run, a speed run, a long run? Like, what's my goal? I think that's hugely important.
Yeah. And just, just be grateful for what you have, all the goodness in your life, and set goals. I would consider myself, am I an ambitious person? Maybe, but I'm not crazy about it, and just when it comes to everything in life, just put one foot in front of the other. And, God has a plan.
Yes, I completely agree. And I try to tell people too that if you're choosing actions and habits that are based on core values and you're deeply aware of what your core values are, then every day can be fulfilling and you can be grateful for
Mm-hmm.
whatever arises, good or bad.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
That's all my questions for this interview. And is there anything else you'd like to ask me?
I did have a question. Oh, what do you hope to run next? What are you planning to run?
I'm signed up for 3 different races here in BC. I'm running one in April, June, and late August. And they're all 55 or 50 kilometer races. That's what I'm focusing on this year. Last year, I focused a lot on the marathon distance, and now I'm just kind of adding 10 more miles.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then long term, I want to run a 100-miler.
Okay. One thing that I would advise, folks that want to run like a 100-miler or even a 50-miler, I think that's great. I get very excited when people want to run. It just makes me so happy. But I think that it's very important to build up endurance. So, for example, I started running 5Ks. I did a handful of those, and then I progressed. I did one 10-miler, and then I progressed to half marathons. I think I did 8 half marathons before I ran my first marathon. Okay. I ran 9 marathons before I ran my first 50.
Okay.
Because at the end of the marathons, I started to realize and notice, like, I'm not really tired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can still go on, and so, the opportunity, when I saw that interview with Dean and Pam Reed, I was like, okay, God is preparing me. He wants me to, focus on the 50. And I ran 4 50s or 5 50s before I ran my first 100-miler. And I ran it because it was in Philadelphia, 20 minutes away from me. So we didn't have to go far. And it was perfect. And I did well. And a couple months later, that summer, I ran the Beast of Burden, a 100-miler, which is in Lockport, New York, by Niagara Falls. And the other
cool.
side. Yeah.
I've heard of that one, actually.
It's really good. I really liked it. And then I was looking for another 100-miler nearby, and I couldn't find one. So I said, oh, what the hell? Let me look at a 24-hour run.
Yeah.
And I never in a million years thought I would run a 24-hour run because you're running the same route over and over, but not necessarily. And so when I ran my first 24-hour run in Wakefield, Massachusetts in 2012, that summer. And I ran really well. I placed 3rd in the women's division.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I was like, wow, that's incredible, And what was so great about that experience that I didn't get to enjoy the awards ceremony because I just wanted to take a shower, and the award ceremony took place in the parking lot of the hotel. But my husband comes in after picking up some dinner, and he says, oh, they just called your name, and I had already got my medal. Here's a plaque. And here's my plaque right here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's my first plaque. And they said they're sending you a $100 check in the mail.
Woohoo.
I said, I'm semi-pro. It was such a great experience.
Yeah.
And then I had my medical nightmare or a surgery that went really haywire. But I went back the following year as part of my healing journey. And an ultra where I thanked and praised all who helped me. I had a list of people, and starting with God and ending with Christ, and my people in between. And I managed to do a little over 64 miles.
That's amazing.
But I couldn't run more because I had also been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis several months prior, and I was on methotrexate. And It was a super hot and humid day, beautiful, super hot and beautiful day. And then I thought to myself, oh, you know what? I can still do the distance. I did over 50 miles. You know,
Yeah.
I did over 54, and I'm just so grateful to be alive to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not greedy. I'm just happy with what God has given me. And it was such a wonderful experience because I was back.
Yeah.
And it all those years of ultra running and my faith and prayers in God that kept me alive to continue running and to tell my story and to
Mm-hmm.
share it with the world.
Yeah, and that's really how you can best impact people, is sharing your journey and sharing your story, and communication with community is what I always say.
That's right.
Just connecting with other people and sharing not only knowledge but experience and values and traditions and everything.
Yeah, and the ultra running community is a really great community. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
every time I go to a race, there's like, oh, I saw you at the last 3 ultras we were running
Mm-hmm.
together. So you make new friends, and we support each other. And I find that ultra runners really, really help each other and support each other. That has
Mm-hmm.
been my experience. Even the elites will support you. You know, they stay
Mm-hmm.
behind to watch the others come in, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when they don't have to. I found in marathon running, it's all about, I'm going to beat the crap out of this one, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
get to the first. It's a different mentality, and research shows that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, research shows that. So yeah, and I'll run as long as I can. And looking forward to my next. Also, I have 2 ultras planned this year. I have one the end of March, a 15 miler, about 2 hours from here in Pennsylvania, and then the one at the Cuyahoga National Park this summer.
Right on.
Yeah.
If you ever make it all the way out west here to Cascade National Park, let me know. I'd love to go hiking with you.
Absolutely, definitely. There's just so many. I actually, when I grow up, I want to be a park ranger.
Mm.
That's my goal. In fact, when I go to the national parks, I participate in the junior ranger programs.
Okay.
And I get my badge. I do all the activities, and I get sworn in with the little ones. I'm the only big child there. And
That's adorable.
in fact, I'm almost finished with the national parks page to my website.
Cool.
Where, you know,
so you'll have a map with all the different places you've been.
Well, actually, it's, you know how I have my ultra running page with my recaps of all the runs. Well, this is similar, but it's sharing my hiking adventures with my husband.
Wow.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. And my husband was saying, "Oh my God, you've done a really good job." And you know, we started hiking in 2010 at Grand Canyon. That was our first national park.
Wow.
Must go to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, when we arrived, you could see it from the airplane, and then you get there, and I have to tell you, I had no words.
Mm.
There were no words, and I just stared. My jaw dropped. My eyes got a little bit welled up, and then I just said, "This is God.
Mm.
This is God."
It's nothing.
And
Yeah, it's just creation.
exactly. This is not man-made. We're good at destroying what God creates. We're not
Mm-hmm.
good stewards of the gifts that He's
We might be
given
able to
us.
fill it up, but I don't think we could make the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and we're just a speck on Earth in the
Mm-hmm.
Grand Canyon. And there has been research that shows that people who are non-believers fall to their knees in the Grand Canyon and believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because like God, the Grand Canyon is beyond comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so please, if you're going to go to any national park, go to the Grand Canyon.
Arizona's way up on my list as far as states go to visit.
Yeah. And then, of course, Utah. My husband and I, we want to eventually retire in Utah because of the beauty, the landscape. You have Zion, you have Bryce National Park. There are all kinds of national parks. There are Arches National Park. We've been to that one. And then, of course, California has Yosemite, Sequoia, Kings Canyon. We haven't been to Death Valley, but that's where Bad Water takes place. So
Yeah. Have you done Badwater?
no,
No?
that was on my to-do list early on, but then I had my medical nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
and that set me back. Uh, I didn't have the strength that I needed. I was on medical leave for 6 months,
Yeah.
and it was tough.
Badwater
Um,
is just it's a different kind of race. It's,
yeah. Well, I think I can do it because it's not a trail race.
mm,
I like heat, but it's also very expensive to register.
yeah, I don't know. What is the price on it?
It's four figures.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But I guess that's because they need so many medical professionals and so
Yeah,
much like
yeah. And then
resources in the desert.
you can pace. You can sign up to be a pacer. You can volunteer, and so I'm considering that. And then next year you have a better chance of getting in.
Okay.
Um, that kind of
Would
thing. And
you?
if you do it for a charity, it's paid for, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's a possibility.
Would
And you
you?
get 60 hours or 48 hours. Yeah, they give you 48 hours to do 135 miles.
Okay. If I did that for charity, then I could afford it. But right now, it's the money that would be holding me back.
Right, right. I looked at it, yeah, but I would like to do it because it was one of the races ultras that I really wanted to do. You know, God had other plans for me, so it worked out
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. You just have to go with what life presents you, right? Not try to push too much.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm really glad that you took the time to read my writings.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm really thrilled with this interview. You have some amazing insights into ultra running and the spiritual side of things, and this couldn't have been more perfect, Miriam.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Eric. God bless you and keep
God
up the
bless
good
you
work.
too.
Yeah. All right. So just keep in touch. If you need anything, just, email me.